Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome in to Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday, December 12th edition of the show on 94.3 The Game. We're live on YouTube, live on Facebook as well, and Twitter, and live on 94.3 The Game. And it may be mid-December, but it's never too early to talk some ECU baseball. We've got pitching coach Austin Knight. He is our in-studio guest today. Coach, how's it going?
Going great, man. I appreciate you having me. December baseball is not a common thing, but I'm excited to talk about some baseball today.
We were just talking. You guys are playing some pickleball to kill some time.
Yeah.
So you guys are still competing, even though no baseball right now.
Yeah, that's the best
field.
part about it, honestly, is we get out there and start yelling at each other a little bit. But, you know, during December, is like I was just telling you off air, it's really the first month of the year where there's no recruiting, there's no coaching, there's no, other than just keeping up with our players and our recruits, there's more free time. And so we try to find things to fill the time. And so we've been going out during the lunch hour and getting after it a little bit and probably think we're a lot better than we actually are. So, it's been fun.
That's all part of it, Coach. You gotta get that confidence going in December before January hits.
That's right.
And then the grind hits. But no, that's great. And so we got a lot of questions on hoistthecolors.net we'll get throughout the next hour. I've been joking, too, with you, Coach. I've been trying to get you in here, since the very end of the season. You've been a little busy recruiting and everything, but we finally got you.
The summer is tough. You know, we're gone pretty much for 2 months straight. And have been excited, obviously, to come over here and talk to you. It's not like I've been avoiding you, I promise. But I'm excited to be here for sure. But it's not a better time, not a better hour I'd rather spend with anybody else.
I don't know if I believe that, but I appreciate it either way. All right, Coach, so you guys wrapped up fall ball a little bit ago, I guess a month or so ago now, and just kind of let's start there. How would you assess the fall? You have pitchers kind of your top guys are kind of taking it slow because they've thrown a lot. You got young guys you're trying to develop. You got freshmen who are trying to figure out how to survive at this level. So how would you kind of assess the fall overall?
Yeah, I think it was kind of the typical fall when it comes to those things. Some good, some bad, some inconsistent, some very consistent. Like you said, I mean, Trey Savage and Zach Root and Wyatt Lunsford-Shinkman and Jake Hunter, all those guys got started up a little bit later than everybody else just because they pitched during the summer and they needed some rest time throughout the calendar year. And so you got to see a lot of young pitchers kind of extend more, which is, I think, the benefit of that is seeing what those guys can do and seeing what they're all about. And then you get to put some other guys who maybe have pitched in, middle relief or in relief roles and see if they can start and see what they can do from that standpoint. So I think a lot of benefits came from the fall, but I liked where we ended up, where we ended up after the Purple Gold World Series, where we ended up after Mission Week and different things like that, and like the group that we have on both sides of the ball.
Going into the third year of your true pitching coach duties, but you've been here, will this be year 5 or 6?
Yeah, year 5, including the COVID year.
Okay, which we all want to forget about.
Yeah, of course.
Was that your first year going into COVID?
Yes, that was my first year. And so,
what a way to start.
Well, exactly. What a way to start. And it was kind of crazy how that all happened because I was at Louisiana Tech, and that spring, we actually our stadium had just got destroyed in a tornado.
Right.
And so, you're off that summer. I'm not looking to leave or anything. I loved it there. But Coach Godwin called me at the end of August, right before we were about to start school, and told me that Hunter Allen was leaving to go to Greensboro and asked me if I was interested. And I was like, yes. Because, last summer I was sitting on the couch watching you guys play in super regionals and regionals, and I'm like, absolutely, I'm definitely interested. And then came up here and took a quick visit and told him yes immediately as soon as I sat down in his office, and went home and packed my apartment and hit the road and was here without even a place to live yet. So it was a neat deal. But yeah, that first year was the COVID year. So
it turned out to be a pretty good move, even though you had obviously some trials and tribulations, as everybody did that year. And so when you came here as that assistant role, Did you foresee yourself getting into pitching coaching specifically because you have been a catcher, and we've talked about it, we'll get into that as well. Being a catcher helps you a lot with pitchers. Mm-hmm. And then you started working with Coach Dietrich, during his 1 year here as well. Did you kind of foresee yourself going on this path, or it just kind of happened?
Yeah, I did. And when I first got into coaching, I just wanted my hands in everything and kind of see what I enjoyed and what I was good at, to be honest with you. And then I actually come from a background. My dad was a left-handed pitcher, pitched professional baseball. He was a high school coach for 27 years. And so pitching was always in the background. He's always talking about pitching. My dad was always researching, trying to get better at training pitchers. And, you go from that into a system at Ole Miss that is they've always had good arms, and they've always done things very structured. And you get out and you kind of start learning about yourself and working with different people. And my first actual opportunity to really work with pitchers, I was at Arkansas Little Rock, and a guy named Mike Silva, who was our pitching coach at the time. Now he's the head coach at Nicholls State, but he came in and had a very innovative mind, and it was kind of the driveline days before driveline was a big thing, and kind of diving into some of that stuff and learning about it. I was very intrigued about it. And then I got to go up into the coach in the Cape Cod League, and I was pitching coach up there for 2 summers. And so that's kind of when I started realizing, man, I like this. It's different than coaching catchers and being comfortable. So I want to learn as much as I can about this, and see what we can do. And so every stop along the way, I'd worked with pitchers up until I got to East Carolina, and of course, Coach Dietrich being a mentor of mine, and he let at that point a young kid who probably had a hard head come in and try to work through him and pick his brain and work with pitchers and have some different ideas, and ultimately it led to Coach Godwin giving me the opportunity to be the pitching coach here, which I can't be more grateful for. So.
And you were a catcher at Ole Miss, so Cliff Godwin was an assistant during that time as well. So what was it like being coached by Cliff Godwin? Did he coach catchers directly at Ole Miss?
Oh, yeah.
And what was that experience like?
So he'll tell you, but he was my academic coach. He was my catching coach. He was my hitting coach. And obviously, I'm not sitting here today without him. But it was tough at first when you're a freshman and you're trying to learn your footing, and you got this guy who was just on your tail all the time about everything.
We've seen him coach the catchers at practice.
That's right. And so you first get into it, and you think you're probably better than you actually are when you get into college, and me myself especially, because I was an average player. Let's not get that confused. I was an average player, and so that first fall, I was just trying to stay alive. Right. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, and this guy's on me all the time about everything. Academics, he's calling me. Like, I remember some mornings we had to go out and do board pushes because academics weren't where they needed to be, and he's on you all the time. And then after that, just the respect grew for him, because I realized that he just really, really cares. He just really, really cares about his players and wants them to be the best version of themselves. And, that's where I really learned how to work hard and be accountable for everything, really. And so ultimately, 10 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be sitting here today. But obviously, things worked out for the good for both of us. So,
what does it mean in Ole Miss? Tremendous, baseball environment, tradition. Clearly, ECU, similar in a lot of ways to be a part of this here, and to play at a place like Ole Miss, and now to be on staff with Cliff Godwin here, and to be somewhere where baseball matters. Like, what does that mean as a coach and a player?
Absolutely, it's really the number one thing when you talk about being able to win at this level, to impact kids the way that you want to recruit the way that you need to. The game has to be important. And I've been places where it's not as important, and I've seen places, I've heard stories from people where it's not as important. And so having that support and the environment that we have, man, is crucial. It's crucial. It's crucial to be able to send videos to kids when you're recruiting them and say, hey, man, this is what you're going to be playing in front of, and we're working to win a national championship, and you're going to get to play in front of this and pitch in front of this on Friday nights, and you're going to have all these people are going to say hey to you when you go out to dinner and all those things. And that's a part of the reason why our kids love it here so much, but of course our coaches love it here so much. You can count on that in the spring, is that you're going to have a very loyal fan base that cares about the game, and like I said, it's the most important thing when it comes to the programs.
I want to know how many other radio stations have a pitching coach in the college ranks on December 12th, because clearly baseball matters here. So I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have you on, and we wouldn't have 25 questions to answer as we go through this show.
That's right.
So we got some awesome questions. Before we get into that, I do want to ask, how comforting is it, maybe the right word, to have Trey Savage back and Zach Roots, two guys at least you can count on? Now, they still have a lot of work to put in to become the finished product, but as a college coach, as a pitching coach, to have two guys with their talent level, their upside, I know has to make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, you feel good about going into the season and having those guys at the front end. I think what gives you more comfort than what they did last year in their talent is that, like, Trey Savage is the hardest worker on our team, and he is only looking to get better every single day. And it's not too often when you have guys like that who are ultra talented and prospects, but are also the hardest workers on the team and also are great leaders within your program and are challenging people to get better every single day. And, like, I think, with Root's taking a big jump in the fact that, last year he came in super talented and kind of rested on his talent alone. He still worked hard, but not nearly as hard as he has worked this year. And those guys have been really, like, they've been challenging each other. I think there's been a good competition between the two for, who's going to pitch on Friday, who's going to be Saturday, whatever it is. And they've both pitched outstanding, and they've both gotten a lot better. And so I think that's the biggest thing is that, yeah, it's comforting on paper to say Trey Savage is your Friday night starter. Then you have a talented sophomore who started a lot for you the year before. But I think what's more comforting is how they go about their business every single day and the attention to detail that they have when they're going through their work and they're throwing programs and their bullpens and just the expectations that they have for themselves. Because it's one thing that I have high expectations for themselves, but whenever you got high expectations within a staff and people are holding each other to that standard, then man, you got something pretty special. So
we had Cliff Godwin in here recently, and he'll say, as always, the player-led programs, as much as he leads for sure, and you guys as staff lead, the player-led programs can be the most special. So is that something, too, as a pitching coach, you kind of have to delegate? You obviously set the tone, but you have to delegate out to the players and the leaders like them to kind of set the tone in other ways.
Absolutely. And that's what you want anyway. I think with a pitching staff, they're spending so much time together. It's basically a team within a team to a certain extent, and you have to have leaders of the pitching staff. And, Coach Blackman helps me on the pitching side of things, but, there's still 20 pitchers. There's still 20 pitchers, and some days they'll be doing their throwing program. We'll have bullpens going on one session. We'll have some guys doing some, PFPs or pick-off work or whatever. And so you have to have leadership within the position group, or else things are going to go to the wayside. And so it's more than just, Trey and Root. It's like Wyatt Lunsford-Shinkman is a great leader. Jaden Winter is a great leader. Guys of that. Jake Hunter is a great leader. We have a lot of guys within our program who are great leaders. And then, all that does is for the younger guys is say, man, like, I want to be like that one day. And so they want to be leaders within the program. And that's where, we talk about culture, but culture is built, and over time the players are the ones that instill it every year. We'll talk about it and to show them what, great examples of this are, but it's on the players to truly take hold of what the standard is and hold it to the highest level.
He's Austin Knight, East Carolina pitching coach. Let's get our first break in. We will come back. We will answer some of your questions, or at least attempt to. We'll get into some of those. We got a lot of good ones on Hoist the Colors. If you got any more on YouTube, Facebook, drop those as well. We'll get to them up to 1 o'clock with our visit with Coach Knight. All right, we'll be right back. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
It's time to give thanks, and Greenville Toyota is making it happen with no payments for 3 months. Yes, we're thanking our customers with no payments till next year. That means extra money in your pocket, just in time for holiday shopping. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Hurry into Greenville Toyota. We're giving thanks and making the season bright with low payments on new Camrys and RAV4s. Only $289 a month. Need credit? Get pre-qualified now with no effect on your credit score. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
Everything you need to know in the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday. Pitching coach Austin Knight is in studio visiting with us. We'll have Jeff Palumbo next Monday. We had Cliff Godwin a few weeks ago, so we're getting y'all on, Coach, before Media Day. This is your preparation for Media Day in January. How about that?
And Coach Palumbo is going to be probably more entertaining than me, I would have to guess.
We'll have to get the fans' opinion. We'll rate who's more entertaining between you, Cliff, and Palumbo. How about that? We got to get the new hitting coach on as well.
You should.
Coach Lartigue. Yeah. So.
Oh, he's awesome. I've obviously known Coach Lartigue for a long time. We'll go way back, and he is a very, very smart human being, and our guys obviously love having him and Coach Packard around.
That's right, Coach Packard.
Those guys,
now he'll be entertaining.
No, my goodness. Those guys bring some great, I say youthful like I'm old, but youthful energy that and they're both very smart and relate with those guys. So I'm excited that those guys are here.
We'll have to get them all on. How about that? We'll try our best. All right, Austin Knight, let's get to some of these questions. And some of this stuff I was honestly going to ask you, but we do this show for the fans, so I always say, hey, as long as the fans give us good, fair questions, and it's the off season, so nobody's too mad at you yet, Coach. So we can try to get these questions in and maybe expand the conversation as well. Somebody on Hoist the Colors wants to know who are the top candidates to be the Sunday and midweek starters. So again, this is December 12th. I want to clarify. A lot of competition to go, but at this point, do you have guys in mind who could compete for those roles?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a combination of 4 or 5 guys that you could see. Right now, if we played Friday and Saturday and we had one game to win on Sunday and I had any pick of the litter, I would throw Wyatt Lunsford Chinkman 100%. He has been really impressive this fall. He's improved a ton, and the stuff's gotten better, and he's been more consistent in his arm slot and the way the ball is moving metrically and all those different things. He's been so much more consistent. He's thrown a ton of strikes. Now, that's a heck of a bullpen arm, right? And the likelihood of us getting through Friday or Saturday without using him is probably pretty slim. And so more realistically, you have Jake Hunter is an option. He's been outstanding this fall and has really gotten better. His pitch mix is better. Obviously, his fastball's always been good. But he's added, a cutter slider, a quote-unquote sweeper slurve hybrid, and a split change as well. And so you're talking about 4-pitch mix that he's throwing in the strike zone at a higher rate. And the stuff has improved a lot. Just the velocity has improved a lot since – it was kind of in the middle of the season. He starts throwing the ball 92 to 95 miles an hour.
I was surprised.
And you're like, yeah, that's great coaching right there.
We thought the gum was broken.
Yeah, me too. I'm joking. Me and Jake sit there together and we're like, what happened? I was like, I have no idea. And he's like, I don't either. And so that'll give you a look behind the curtain a little bit. Sometimes the best things just kind of they'll surprise you, But he's been really good. Chris Kaler, the transfer from George Washington, had a pretty good fall at the end. He got sick and it wasn't as good towards the end of the fall. But early on, he's a guy you can look up and he can eat 4, 5, 6 innings on 65, 70 pitches, and you'll be hopefully looking at a 2-hour game, And so when he's at his best, he has really good 4-pitch mix and can execute and really command the ball to wherever he needs to. Obviously, Ethan Norby was really good at the beginning of the fall. Towards the back end, I think is just their normal freshman deal. Got punched in the face a little bit over at Virginia. Had a 5-run inning, and then I think just had some negative thoughts throughout the rest of the fall, but he has qualities that you really like as a starting pitcher. A guy that can really command his fastball, a really good slider, a developing changeup, and a developing cutter. 4-pitch mix for a freshman that there's a lot of strikes. I mean, that's exciting. And he's competitive and he does the little things right. And so he's a guy that you certainly envision in the future being in your rotation at some point. And so I think he will definitely start games in whatever capacity. And then you got a guy like Eric Ritchie, where if he can just be more consistent in the strike zone, he has some of the best swing and miss stuff on our team. He struck out basically 2 guys an inning this fall, and it's like he has been in the past. There's too many freebies, too many unforced errors, but that's a guy that whenever it does click for him, he's going to be a special arm, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting as well. So you have options there, and so there'll be good competition early in the spring to see who ends up there at the beginning of the year. Now, of course, what dictates that? I mean, every game is so important throughout the course of the spring. The midweek games are important. The Sunday game is important against whoever, right? And so what it comes down to is we're going to do whatever we have to do to win the game in front of us.
I was out at the Purple Gold World Series, and Jacob Jenkins Cowart saw me in the outfield. He was like, "Hey man, you got to watch Wyatt's stuff this year. It's like incredible." So like, what has he made tweaks, or is it just experience that is added to his stuff? And he went out there. I think he struck out the side the inning after JC said that. So he seems to have made a leap.
Yeah. Well, during the season, towards the back end of the season, his arm slot actually climbed up, and so he's a sinker ball guy. But he was throwing it from a higher slot, so the ball just it flattened out on him. And so going into the summer, it was like, hey, we've got to make an adjustment with this. We've got to get to the tilt of the fastball to where it needs to be so that you can get consistent sink. And he went out and he did it, right? And so he comes back here, and he's more of a low three-quarter slot guy, but the ball is sinking and running all over the place, and he's commanding it at a high level, and it makes a slider, which is a sweeper by everyone's terms, right? It made it way better. Like an elite pitch. But it just made everything better. The changeup's better, the cutter's better, everything's better, and he's just throwing strikes at such a high rate, and all the velocity has stayed the same even with more movement. It's actually climbed a little bit from what his standards are in the fall. And so he's made those adjustments. He stayed true to them. He has not gotten away from it. He has not deviated from it, and he's been just really consistent with it.
Chris Kaler, y'all saw him pitched pretty well against you firsthand last year. So how much did that play too? As you went to the portal, that this guy has handled the environment well.
Yeah.
So that probably had to play a role in bringing him on board, right?
Yeah. When he hit the portal, I saw the name and, went back and looked at video from that first day. And I remember us just sitting in the dugout and being like, we can't, like, we're not getting to this guy's fastball. And you go and you look at the TrackMan numbers, and he's got elite carry on his fastball, and he's got elite pitchability, and he's super competitive. And so immediately for me, I'm like, this is a guy I'd like to have, And so that was kind of it, watching him handle himself. He I don't know if it was, I want to beat East Carolina so bad, they're number 11 team in the country. He's kind of that way. He's kind of wired that way. And so seeing that competitive nature when he's out there and pitching against us in front of a big crowd on opening weekend, it's like, that's really good, And so then I flew up to the Cape, and I watched him pitch an outing in the Cape, and it was a really, really good fit, because I think he was like anything. When players come to our place and see our environment, and then they hit the portal, they're very intrigued by East Carolina. They want to be a part of that, And so he got to see our place and see our team and see our fans. And he, on his recruiting visits, he's talking about all the fans in right field just getting after him out there and talking crap the whole time, and that excited him, And so it was just a really good fit with him, honestly.
Yeah, he was telling me during our interview, he was like, one of the coolest things that ever happened to me is when they booed me or heckled me during that game, which is hilarious.
Which is crazy, right? Like, who actually says that's one of the coolest things that's ever happened?
Exactly. Well, this year at least they'll be on his side. He said, I hope they'll be on my side, but I'm sure they will. Dover Pirate on Hoist the Colors, he says, can you ask what the thought process going into this year to not overextend some of their best arms? Like he says, like Groves, you Savage last year maybe got a little tired down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So take us through that, because I guess it's a little easier said than done because you're trying to win every game, but do you try to keep that in mind as well?
Yeah, always. You're always thinking about those things, and I think with Groves and Trey, when Trey had his hiccup in the middle of the season last year, really everybody's roles expanded, for 3 or 4 weeks because we were building Trey back in to be ready for the postseason. And so I think that adds a lot of stress, of course, mentally, but physically as well, when you're having to move, a Josh Groves off of a Sunday starter routine and put him on a Saturday or a Friday. Like, that's a day less rest, and that does take a toll over time. And so I think just early in the season, or really it starts in the fall, to be honest, is like, hey, we have got to prepare for this. You guys know what it takes now. You know what the impact is on the body and the stress levels that come with that, because you can't really replicate that much in a bullpen setting, even in scrimmages, whenever you have so much emotion-filled pitches that you're delivering every day. It's something that you just got to train your body extremely hard, and then we have to be diligent in making sure that, number one, that you're prepared on the front end, and then when we get into the early parts of the season, that we're bringing you along the right way. I think at times, probably early last year, we won some games where Trey threw 7 2/3 and threw 108 pitches or whatever. But if I go back, would we have got him out in the 7th? I don't know. Because do we win that game if he doesn't throw 108 pitches? I don't know. It's not like we're throwing guys to 130, 140 pitches or anything like that. But I think it more comes with experience of, hey, this is what my body's going to feel like in April, May, and June. And I have got to prepare from that starting in August, right. and getting your body as physically strong, as physically mobile, the ability to bounce back and get the most out of your bullpens in the middle of the week. I think it's a total entire project of each person and what works best for them, But I do think in the middle of the season last year, when Trey did have his hiccup and we took him out for basically one weekend, I think that was really the weekend of the first week of the year where we did not pitch well. I think that week and then the conference tournament were the 2 weeks where we didn't pitch well, and those are all basically based on roles expanding and less rest time and all those things. And so you see, obviously, the benefits of keeping guys on routines and keeping them very, very structured. And obviously, going in every year, you hope to do that. So,
no doubt. And some of it just comes down to health and luck a little bit, too. It's, kind of flip of the coin at times. Dover also wants to know who is one player that we do not know yet that could have an impact on the season. Now, you could go in a lot of directions here, but is there one or two guys that kind of stands out when you hear that question?
Yeah, on the offensive side of the ball, Chaz Myers is one of our best hitters, in my opinion. Very, very disciplined approach inside the ball. I've told Cliff this, but his swing setup reminds me a lot of Connor Norby's. And I'm not saying he's going to hit 400 with 15 home runs, but he's tough to pitch to. He's a guy that's inside the ball. He can hit the slider, he can hit the changeup, he can hit the fastball in. Doesn't strike out a lot, has good plate discipline, can drive the ball out of the yard. And so he's a guy you're excited about on the offensive side. From the pitching side of things, I think we'll see. I think that there's a number of newcomers that can help. I mean, obviously everyone knows about Norby and guys like that, but I'll let you know when we get to February and see where these guys are at, because freshman years and then being put into our program where so much is asked of you and you're working so hard every day. I tell all the freshmen that your first fall is going to be arguably the most just difficult 3-4 months of your entire life. I mean that. And after that, it's smooth. It's good, right?
You got to survive it.
Yeah, you just got to survive that freshman fall. And so as guys get more comfortable and kind of dive into who they are and start really forming their identities on the mound, I think you'll see big jumps with a lot of the kids. I think that there's a lot of them that can help us, this year in the right roles. And so there's enough talent there, certainly. And so I'm excited to see where they're at when they come back, and I'll let you know, and hopefully at Media Day.
Yeah, we got Media Day. It'll be here, I guess, mid-January. We haven't got an official date yet. Straw369 wants to know, how do you go about crafting a new pitch for pitchers? He says, for example, Savage's splitter, or Bill kind of throwing like Colmore did in his senior year, or Spivey's cutter. So take us through that process. I'm sure it's a little bit different for each guy, but how do those things come about?
It is for sure. Trey's splitter came because he couldn't throw a changeup. And it's actually funny. So a lot of people think Trey throws a lot of splitters. He really doesn't. He throws probably 15-20% splitters. His curveball has some wrong way movement to it, so it has a ton of depth, but it moves to the opposite side, so it looks like a left-handed left-handed curveball.
Wow.
And so, like, metrically, that's why that looks like a splitter. And people think it's a splitter, but it's not. It's actually his curveball, which
That's
is
a
interesting.
crazy pitch.
Yeah, there's only a handful of guys in the major leagues that can do that. I think of Karen Check, who was with the Guardians for a long time. He was a guy that could really do that. And so he actually did not throw that many splitters last year. Now, it's gotten really good. Like, splitter's gotten good. I think he's going to use it more this year, and you can see him using it to both right-handers and left-handers this year. But as far as crafting a new pitch or a new identity or a different slot or whatever it might be, I think you start off by just assessing where we're at. And so, like, every guy, the process when they get here is that we're going to assess, we're going to put them on TrackMan, we're going to get them all video and everything that we possibly have and assess what their fastball does to start with. Is it a fastball that has a lot of carry to it? Is it a sinker? Or does it need to be a sinker? And start there. And then you build the repertoire around that. You know, if it's a guy who has a fastball with a ton of carry that you're going to pitch to the top of the zone, ideally you would like a depthy curveball to go with it, which we'd like it to still be, you know, maintain velocity and be hard. And then after that, you know, you're trying to create a changeup or whatever that goes the opposite way with some depth, and then a hard slider cutter. That's ideally what you're looking for. Now, you have to do 2 before you do 4. You have to do 3 before you do 4, right? And so it's what can you execute, what works for you, and how can we make your repertoire better, right? And so when you get to that point where you feel like you have 2 to 3 pitches that are really consistent that you can throw into the strike zone at any point, like, I'm a tinkerer. I like to get up there and, like, we'll experiment and see what works, and, like, there's no judgment on either side of it at this point. It's like, if it's a bad pitch, who cares? You're not throwing it in game right now. And so let's see if we can find something that clicks. And if not, you still have 3 pitches. But if you add a 4th and it becomes a weapon for you, then we're in business. And so, you know, it's working through a bunch of different grips and getting them to throw it and find what's comfortable for them and teaching them the right thought process and maybe cues and mental side of what they need to do to execute this pitch at a higher level. And then usually over time, you know, you do something a lot, then it becomes something for you, you know. And so it really starts there, but it starts with what their fastball is doing and what makes sense with the rest of their repertoire, to be honest. And then what can we do to honestly release pressure from your fastball or from your slider or your most used secondary pitch, and kind of bridge the velocity gap from, you know, if you're throwing a slider at 80 and a fastball at 92, well, let's get something in the middle there, right? And then let's have it go in a different way than everything else. So that's kind of how it starts, and it's been successful. I'd be lying to you if I told you every single time I do it, it works out perfectly. You know, sometimes. I
was going to say, do you ever have a pitcher to go out, try a new one, and just get bashed around in a scrimmage?
Well,
like, all right, let's scrap it.
Not really, because we have repped it out so much before I'm comfortable throwing it or calling it or them. I mean, some guys will want to throw it as soon as they get out there. And I'm like, hey, it's not ready. Just give it a second. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think about some guys like, you know, Spivey came back and his cutter, he started playing with a cutter at the end of the summer before the year he was All-American, and he was throwing in the bullpen. I was like, that's pretty good. you know, that's pretty good. And it's like, we're going to use that a lot. And then, you know, Wyatt Lunsford-Shenkman, we were actually just messing around with sinker grips, 2-seam grips. And he throws one, he cuts it. I'm like, there's your cutter. So let's just run with that and see if we can start cutting that. And so every guy's story is different. You know, Danny Bills came because he was just unsuccessful. You know, I think pretty similar to Cam Colmore, to be honest with you. It was just, you know, kind of a generic right-hander, and we needed to add some flavor and some uniqueness to his game. And he had a bad fall, and we approached him with it, and he took it running and worked it really, really hard. And now you never knew that he didn't, you know, always throw that way.
How many pitches does Danny Bill actually have? Because there's a conspiracy he's got like 7 or 8. I don't know if it's
he has at least 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny. He has pitches that we don't necessarily use all the time. So over the top, he throws a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer. He throws a slider with some depth, and then he has a changeup over the top. Underneath, he's 2-seam only, and then throws a slider. And he has a changeup. We don't actually use it from underneath, but he throws it from underneath so that he can continue to have feel for turning the baseball over so that his changeup over the top is better.
Gotcha. Well,
so
there you go.
Yeah.
There's the breakdown, Danny Bill scouting report. So looking forward to seeing Danny pitches here. All right, let's get another break in. We'll come back. We'll continue to answer these questions and more on the other side with pitching coach Austin Knight. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
I'm a big mood. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't do. It's like a paper, like a book, not a Kindle. You outdated, I'm the one they getting into, and I won't break a sweat. Let's get it, 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 let's get it. Child, please, I don't need a towel, please.
Are you game day ready? Anson Belt, the official belt of ECU Athletics.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast, Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Hey, grab me one too.
R&D Brewing is proud to partner with the ECU Pirates, and now you can enjoy Pirates Brew, the official craft beer of ECU Athletics. Pirates Brew is a carefully curated light beer that embodies the spirit of ECU, a refreshing and easy drinking light beer. Pirates Brew by R&D Brewing is available now at grocery stores, local retailers, and at ECU athletic events.
Head over to your favorite store and enjoy a nice Pirates Brew today, or else you'll walk the plank. Hand me another Pirates Brew. Arr.
With Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back into Hoist the Colors on this Tuesday. Pitching coach Austin Knight is in studio. Great baseball discussion. Coach, we've got a lot of questions to get to, including somebody wants to know, can you beatbox?
Probably my younger days, but Coach Lartigue and I are fairly committed to starting a Creed cover band.
Okay.
We're really on it right now, and so just stay tuned to that. We may be playing weddings here soon, so just
all right,
so you know.
So no beatboxing, but maybe some Creed to cover.
Yeah, we're musical beings.
Good stuff. Hey, whatever. Creed helped the Rangers win the World Series.
That's the point.
So
that's
exactly.
the point.
And as a Seattle Mariners fan, I hate
Success
that.
leaves clues.
But hey, yep. Creed equals championships. You heard it here first. All right, so there's also a lot of discussion, or at least questions, about kind of pitching labs and technology, which we could do like a whole show or series of podcasts on this stuff.
Yeah.
But somebody on Hoist the Colors kind of wants to know like ECU's process as far as, at what point can you guys kind of get a real pitching lab? He references Wake Forest and the amount of technology there. They just had a huge year, of course. They also had a ton of talent, but they have developed some pitching. They utilize that lab a lot. There's a lot of stories about that. So what do you know, first off, about Wake Forest, and then what are y'all able to take advantage of as far as technology from a pitching lab perspective?
Yeah, I think, they've done an excellent job, of course, of creating that place and creating some really good arms, I think when you talk about the labs, from their perspective, they have a whole team that's kind of running that behind the scenes, which is which is kind of how it's got to go. If you're going to have that sort of technology and those type of things, you got to have more than just the pitching coach and the player development guy running all of it. Just because if that's all you're concerned about, then you're probably not going to be good at holding runners and doing PFDs and executing and different things like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's a ton of technology out there, and the good news is you can kind of pick and choose what you want. And so they have all the Edgertronic cameras, they have TrackMan, they have a biomechanics motion capture system that they use. And so do we. We have things as well. Like we have TrackMan. We obviously have a great space for our pitchers to work in every single day to do everything that they need to do on a daily basis. We have TrackMan, which is the ball flight system that tracks all the data. We have plenty of video systems that we have. We have a biomechanics analyzer that is not, some of these cost like $100,000, $150,000 to use. We don't use that. We have an Uplift one that is done. It's called Uplift Labs, and you can do it on mobile devices. You can do it on whatever you like, and it breaks down all the details of your torso velocity, your pelvis velocity, the way that you're sequencing, all this stuff that I think you need to kind of slow things down and see things out on a better view. And so myself and our player development guy, Heath Blackman, kind of break that down on a daily basis, and it's been really, really beneficial. It's taken some things that you wouldn't see necessarily to the naked eye, and like a guy like Trey Savage, where we're looking at it, and he's honestly sequencing the wrong way. You would never know that, but he's throwing the ball 95 miles an hour, but he's actually doing some things wrong. And so I said wrong's probably not the right word, but some things that will keep him healthy at a healthier rate. And so we dove into that, and he's been very diligent about the work that we've put in, and we're seeing benefits of it. Of course, he's going to be more healthy. He's getting sore in the right places, but his stuff's also getting better as well. And so I think it's all relative to what you need, the support that you have, and we're continuing to try to upgrade that pitching indoor as often as we possibly can. I'd like to get force plates in there. I'd like to have the Edgertronic cameras in there. But the reality is also we're not going to throw bullpens on there every single day, every single time, because we have to throw outside in games, and so it's the mixing of all the data and all the technology and you have to blend all of it together, make it very feasible for your players to understand what you're looking at, right, and not cloud their minds from what's important, which is getting outs on the field. And so I think there's benefits to both sides of it, man, and it's good to have the information, but you have to be able to use it in the right ways.
I was going to ask, it's almost like it can become information overload, and you can think too much if you again, there's a pathway for it. A lot of major league teams use that technology, but you got to approach it the right way. You can't just go all in on technology and not really understand what it means either.
Yeah, it's important that the coaches know their players, right? Like have the relationships with the players and understand what is going to help one guy may hurt the other guy. And some guys don't want to know any of the information. They don't want to know any of it. And I'm not going to, shove it down their throats and make them understand like all these things. Okay, well, we'll implicitly build in programs that will make you better at X, Y, and Z. And you don't have to worry about it. And then some guys want to see it on paper, and they want to know exactly what they're doing wrong, and they want to have video all the time, and that's fine too. It doesn't really matter, right? As a teacher or as a coach, your job is to best affect them in the way that's going to make them better. It's going to make them benefit in the long run. And so you have to understand, you got to wear many hats that, hey, talking to one guy and showing them this isn't going to necessarily help this guy, right? But there's different ways to reach them. And so I think the number one thing will always be the relationships that coaches have with the players and the relationships that the players have with each other and how we can best get the best product out of each guy on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, on a 4-year basis, whatever it is, right? And so that's the thing that, when you talk about these professional programs and they have all the data and some guys use the same stuff that we use right now. That's honestly where we get a lot of our stuff is through professional baseball. But they have someone at the forefront that can effectively communicate to the players what they are doing, what they need to do better, and how they're going to do it better.
Scott, who helps us out on our podcast on Hoist the Colors, he says, what are your thoughts on pitch tunneling, and is that something he teaches to our pitchers? Is that something you kind of work on as well?
Yeah, I think that we kind of went into that process earlier a little bit as far as tunneling. Now we will sequence bullpens in a manner that makes sense to tunneling pitches off of one another, but it starts with building a repertoire that makes sense with what your fastball is or what your most used pitch is going to be, whether it's a fastball, a slider, or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of you see it in Major League Baseball. I mean, some guys go out there and just rip sliders every single pitch, right? And so usages of sliders and all-speed pitches have gone way up, and they have for us as well. Just because last year we had a team full of guys who had good sliders, and so obviously we're going to use them a lot. So it makes sense with your most utilized pitch to understand, all right, well, my fastball needs to be doing this. Maybe it's an east-west approach, right? And we're just trying to start the ball middle, and fastball's going to end up over here, and slider's going to end up over here, and then the changeup will end up down. You know what I mean? Right. And so it's getting guys to understand what their identity is, how they're going to get hitters out, and like most pitchers, like they want those 7 different pitches, and they want to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I just tell them, go watch a Major League game. Let's go watch a Major League game. 2 to 3
pitches, all it takes.
2 to 3 pitches. They execute it at will. They tunnel off of each other. They start in the same places, and it's really good stuff. You know what I mean? And so let's be really good at a few things before we start adding in a bunch of different things. But we will practice tunneling per se in bullpens. You know, all right, well, let's elevate the fastball. Let's go curveball down for a 2-strike pitch after that. You know, you go fastball in, maybe it's east-west, let's go the slider off of that, start it in the same location, end it here. You know what I mean? And so those are things we're always working on, sequencing in bullpens and execution. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely talk about it. We definitely work on it. And yeah.
Last year, he says the sweeper was all the rage. Yeah. We've talked about it a few times already in this show. Are you working with anyone to add that to the repertoire? And if you could, you know, what's the difference between a sweeper and a slider, slur? Like, well, you know, is it all kind of the same in a way? What's the technical difference?
It's really that there's just different variations of sliders. And so a sweeper is a slider, but it's more of a horizontal pitch, right? And so the idea with a horizontal pitch with a sweeper, you're trying to keep the vert of the pitch, so it going up or down. You're trying to keep it basically at 0 and just make the pitch just go totally horizontal.
Right.
And so it makes sense for a pitcher who throws from a low 3/4 slot to throw a sweeper, right? Whereas Trey Savage, if I try to teach him a sweeper,
wouldn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, right? And so we have several guys, and there is a specific way to teach that pitch. You know, there's different elements, there's different seam orientations. The whole point of the sweeper was that you're using seam shifted wake, which is a big scientific word, to basically disrupt the airflow around the baseball. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Disrupt the airflow around the baseball to create more movement on the baseball than is perceived to the hitter. So they're expecting this pitch to move an X amount, but it actually is moving more. And so we actually took the grip that the New York Yankees used, and that was part of, you know, experimenting with some guys last year. And so like Wyatt Lunsford Sheikman throws it, it's basically an offset 2-seamer, and you're basically trying to throw a sideways curveball. You know, basically, but you're trying to throw it hard.
Yeah.
And so that in turn ends up creating a lot more horizontal movement than a normal, what they would call a gyro slider, which is essentially what Trey Savage's cutter is. And
Gotcha.
so, but yeah, Wyatt Lunsford Sheikman throws a sweeper. Spivey threw a sweeper last year. So he's like, you know, cutter, sweeper, fastball mix in that order, basically. Who else? Jaden Winter throws a sweeper. We got a lot of guys on our team that throw them because it makes sense with their slot. But yeah, you know, I think people are working to be innovative, which you just want to stay up on the trends and try to help your players to be prepared for when they get into professional baseball, because that's what they're going to teach them, you know.
He is awesome tonight. Let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. We'll try to get as many of these questions in as possible. Go rapid fire. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
5th Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous 5th Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. 5th Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. I'm a big mood. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't do. Stacking paper like a book, not a Kindle. You outdated, I'm the one they getting into, and I won't break a sweat. Let's get it. 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 Child, please, I don't need a towel, please.
Are you game day ready? Anson Belt, the official belt of ECU Athletics.
Are you ready for a digital hair color revolution? The Color Master Factory by Chi and LG. A masterpiece of innovation, unlimited color formulations, limitless possibilities, long-lasting color. Chi.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Arr, matey!
Back to the show with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Final segment here. Pitching coach Austin Knight in studio. This has been an awesome hour of baseball content. The season will be here before we know it, mid-February, as we sit here about around 2 months away in mid-December. All right, we'll try to get to as many of these questions as possible. Jonathan Wagner, he says he's got to ask about his Pinecrest guys, and he wants to know how has Colby Wallace looked on the mound, and could he have a legitimate role there as a freshman?
Yeah, Colby's a stud. In the fall, we worked him out a ton at third base, and so as with anything, it's hard to navigate as a freshman, being a two-way and throwing the ball across the infield. So we didn't pitch a ton in the fall, but we did work with him, outside of practices, and then, of course, after fall practice. And he's got a big future, man. He's a really talented player. I mean, he's low 90s on the mound, has feel for a good breaking ball, a good cutter, changeup's developing, throws a lot of strikes. I think he could end up having a role certainly this year and definitely in the future.
And somebody asked, how many two-way guys do y'all have? Would he be the only one, or could there be another?
Uno.
So he would be the one.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the
guy. Do you have any favorite baseball podcasts? Scott wants to know.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so I don't necessarily just lean on one baseball podcast. I more so try to listen to people. And so if somebody's on my mind or somebody that I read a quote on or whatever, then I'll get on, your Apple podcast and just search their name and listen to whatever they talk about. And so really just looking for innovative people who think differently and think the game and are good baseball people. That's what I'm looking for. And you try to listen to a couple of those a week. But there's a lot of really good podcasts out there that of guys who do an awesome job and get great guests. And so I wouldn't say there's just one podcast to listen to, but if you just search, whoever. You search whoever on there, and you'll find a bunch of different options, and then go with the one that you feel is best suited for what you're looking for on that day. And sometimes that's what I'm looking for is more topic related than it even is people. And so,
right, makes sense. He wants to know if you could build a perfect pitcher. What 4 pitches will they have?
It depends on what I'm obsessed with that week. Honestly, if it's hard sliders and you carry fastballs. I mean, you talk like anything. It's you got a good 4-seamer, throw it in the mid-90s and command it really well. Then you want a top-bottom breaking ball that's hard as well and has nasty bite to it, and a hard cutter slider that's 90 miles an hour, and then a changeup to go with it. I think we're in business.
If you have all that, good.
You're in business. I mean, you think about Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander and guys like that. I mean, just put those guys on the banner for exactly what you want. So.
Bleeds Purple Gold wants to know, what are your opinions on catchers showing gloves late to help frame pitches or showing them earlier to show a clear target for pitcher? he says he's read some stuff recently that some are going back to showing gloves earlier. Do you have an opinion on that as a former catcher, pitching coach?
I just think it depends on the pitcher. A lot of pitchers are not even really taught to look at the mitt anymore. They're more taught to look at where you want to start your pitch, and so that could be an umpire's mask, it could be a catcher's mask, it can be a left shoulder or whatever. And so I think it just depends on the pitcher, right? But the most important thing is just to be consistent with it, right? Don't do one thing one time and then another thing another time, and just be consistent so that the pitcher knows what you're doing.
All right, last question. This is my favorite one. Favorite uniform combination?
I like the gold with the camo hats because that means we're going for a sweep.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's
Don't
pretty
get me
much
started
it.
on the camo hats, so I'm not a fan.
I
understand the meaning, though.
I love them. I love them because it means that we're going for a sweep and that we're having a successful weekend and we're winning a lot. So I will wear those anytime.
What about the powder purples?
Powder purples. I like them because the recruits like them.
There you go. That's all that matters. All right, Austin, this has been awesome, man. We'll get you back on at some point. I don't know. You got to take off for Christmas and then media day and then the season. But we really appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate everything that you're doing for sports here in East Carolina as well, dude. You do an awesome job.
Well, I appreciate that, Austin, man. This has been great. We got a lot of good feedback from the thread, so we will have fun with Jeff Palumbo, too, next week. So ECU baseball will be here before we know it. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. This is Hoist the Colors.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the Colors on 943 The Game.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
Call AA Hauling 252-946-1227 or AAHauling.com.
R&D Brewing is proud to partner with the ECU Pirates, and now you can enjoy Pirates Brew, the official craft beer of ECU Athletics. Pirates Brew is a carefully curated light beer that embodies the spirit of ECU, a refreshing and easy drinking light beer. Pirates Brew by R&D Brewing is available now at grocery stores, local retailers, and at ECU athletic events.
Head over to your favorite store and enjoy a nice Pirates Brew today, or else you'll walk the plank. Hand me another Pirates Brew.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast, Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Hey Pirate Nation, I'm head men's basketball coach Mike Schwartz.
And I'm Kim McNeil, head coach of your defending American Athletic Conference champion women's basketball team.
Basketball season is just around the corner, and we're looking forward to another exciting season on the hardwood.
We need Pirate Nation to Pat Minji's Coliseum by purchasing your season tickets today.
Call 1-800-DIAL-ECU or visit ECUPirates.com to get yours now.
Thanks, and go Pirates.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
Call AA Hauling 252-946-1227 or AAHauling.com.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't do. Stacking paper like a book, not a Kindle. You outdated, I'm the one they getting into, and I won't break a sweat. Let's get it, 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 let's get it. Child, please, I don't need a child, please.
Are you game day ready? Anson Belt, the official belt of ECU Athletics.